Hi, everyone. I'm Henry DeVries. Welcome to Agency Rainmaker TV. This is where we help agencies make it rain, which means more right fit prospects. And to do that, we look at different experts and we interview people to give advice. And today it's my honor to be interviewing my business partner at Indie Books International, my brother of another mother, Mark LeBlanc, celebrating 40 years in business this week. How are you doing, Mark?
Oh, thank you, Henry. Good to be with you. I'm doing great.
So let's get right into the questions. Who do you serve?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm often referred to as the consultant's consultant or the coach's coach. But for all practical purposes, I work with owners of agencies, practices, people who sell their time and their talent, their experience and their expertise.
So you wrote the underground bestseller, Growing Your Business, to help those people. Last time I heard, it was like 80,000 copies in print, and you averaged a case sale every week for 12 years. Is that all true?
That's all true. And it was the unexpected bestseller of sorts, and the fact that we were fortunate. We tried something really unusual with that book, and it's the little book that can make a big difference in your business. And who knew that a 77-page book would move over 80,000 copies?
Now, I've heard you say it's no great work of literary genius. It was just a regular business book that you took all the crud out of it and left what was choice. Was that the strategy?
Well, everyone told me 24 years ago to write a 50,000 word manuscript and 10 chapters. And if you don't charge a lot for it, Mark, nobody's going to take it seriously. And so I did that. I wrote a 50,000 word manuscript. And when I got done with it, Henry, I looked at it and thought, man, there's a lot of crap in here. And I ended up cutting 43,000 words and was left with a little 4x7 mass market paperback size book. And I do say that it's no literary work of genius. I didn't really even know what I was doing. I didn't understand the power of story, but I have an amazing story in chapter 2 that solves a monster problem. Didn't understand it at the time, but one that most of us face on a daily basis. And then it's full of some practical evergreen tips and strategies and ideas that can move the needle and help you grow your business or your agency or your practice.
Well, and it's not your only book. How many books have you written now? 5?
The total is 6
6.
that I've authored or co-authored.
Well, and I know Mark wouldn't brag, but I'll brag on him. He's probably logged over 20,000 hours coaching people, probably helped over 1,000 businesses. He's a past president of the National Speakers Association, and he's was recently named to the Hall of Fame as a speaker. Okay, with all of that, let's talk about the what. What do you do to help small businesses, agency owners, consultants?
Well, I refer to it as my positioning triangle, which I encourage other professionals to look at too. And I really look at everything I do: writing, publishing, coaching, team retreats, speaking, is all behind a singular outcome: growing your business or growing your agency. And then on the bottom corners of the triangle are the 2 specific problems that I solve. And those 2 problems are A, a lack of focus, and B, a lack of owner's compensation. Took me a long time to figure out that small business owners and agency owners either take too much too soon out of their business or too little for too long. And when I interview someone, and only when appropriate, I will ask permission to ask a few questions. And I will say, I'm going to ask you a question, of course, and get permission. It's like, you've been in business for a while. Let me ask you a hard question. It's okay if you choose to pass. I live in a world of 2 or more right answers. But the question is, how do you take money out of your business or your agency for yourself? And he or she will look at me and say something like, well, Mark, it's pretty easy. When I have some money, I take some. And when I don't have any, I don't take any. And it's almost as if they wear that like a banner on their forehead, that they're proud of that. And that's really unfortunate. And I think so much of my work is about bringing down the highs and raising the lows so that we can create a path to sustainable and consistent and predictable results. But I really believe that an owner needs to find that blend and balance between growing their business, reinvesting in their business, and putting money in their pocket as the owner.
That's all great. Well, let's get to rainmaking. You and I, along with Scott Love, wrote a book called Rainmaker Confidential, and we interviewed over 100 professionals on how they were making it rain during the pandemic and what they were doing less of and what they were doing more of and what they were investing in. But overall, as you're coaching people, we got that. But how do you make it rain for Mark LeBlanc?
Well, another great question. And from a business development perspective, I look at 3 things: planting seeds, having conversations, and creating experiences. I think everything boils down to seeds, conversations, and experiences. And from a strategy perspective, and I will underscore or add the word imperfect, because I certainly am not perfect at anything that I'm sharing with you, but I have a mix of 4 marketing strategies that I imperfectly implement every 30 days. And these 4 strategies, because everybody wants to know, Henry, these 4 strategies, I plant 3 seeds a day. I make 3 business development calls a day, day in, day out. Number 2, I have 2 attraction phase conversations with 2 prospects, week in, week out. And then I serve up or deliver 2 experiences, usually a no-fee presentation in a target-rich environment. When I can be in front of a pure group of agency owners or a pure group of independent or strategic consultants versus a mixed audience, the floodgates open, and I can often over time see a 10-to-1 return, a 20-to-1 return, and even a 40-to-1 return. So 3 seeds a day, 2 conversations a week, 2 experiences a month. And then my 4th strategy, I think of as the least cost, highest return strategy that any professional can put into play. And it's what I refer to as my advocate strategy. And I encourage people to put together a list of 25 or 15 or even 5 cheerleaders or referral sources, and then create an every 30-day connection to stay top of mind with the people who believe in you and your work. I don't, or seldom ever do I ask for referrals or introductions, but the fact that I'm staying top of mind every 30 days and making sure that I'm leaving breadcrumbs and clues in my messaging and in my messages about who I'm looking for and how I can be of good service and where my focus is, I find that I get more and more referrals along the way.
Mark, we live in a world where so many people are chasing artificial intelligence and chatbots and robots. And I really think the real intelligence that you offer is going to be more of a competitive advantage as we get deeper into AI, when we're going to be bombarded with chatbots, robots, avatars talking to us all the time, that we'll want that real connection that you offer. And thank you for that. So I'm supposed to ask the softball question. Well, Mark, you say 3 seeds a day. Surely you don't mean on the weekends, do you?
Well, I encourage people to start with 5 days a week, or planting 15 seeds, whether it's a phone call, a text, an email. Those are all viable channels or ways that we plant seeds. I tend to prefer the telephone. For me, it's just easier, and over the course of time, I'm in shape for it. I can find 3 names, 3 numbers, leave 3 voicemail messages in 60 seconds or less per. But I took the strategy one step further, and I do make 3 calls 7 days a week, week in, week out. Of course, I'm going to also provide the disclaimer that I'm not perfect. I miss a day here and there for good reason or cause, and but for all practical purposes, I make 3 dials every single day. And people say, you make sales calls on Saturdays and Sundays, and I don't think of it that way, Henry. I think of planting seed, or any seed that you plant or call that you make to start a conversation, to strengthen a relationship, or to cement a relationship is a positive. So it's not about making 3 calls a day to cold calls or people who've never heard of me. It's making sure that I'm reaching out to people on my database. I'm reaching out to people who are past clients. I'm reaching out even on the weekends to current clients. I've never had a current client, an active and engaged client, be dismissive of a Saturday or Sunday reach out, just to check in, see how they're doing. Maybe I'm calling from an airport, and of course, for the most part, I'm often leaving voicemail messages. So when I can reach out, leave a message, get in, get out. Sometimes I think, Henry, I think of them as active caring calls on Saturdays or Sundays. And of course, today, with everything that we have going on, sometimes it's an act of caring call. It's an act of value call. At times, with relationships that I know, sometimes it's an act of compassion call, or an act of celebration call, or an act of opportunity call, a way to be of good service to those that I serve best.
Mark, we're going to celebrate 10 years in business together here next year. And in those times, I've never called a client on a weekend that wasn't so happy to hear me and thank me for being of interest to them. And I'm not doing the grandpa call where I keep them on for a long time. It's a strategic strike. We're in and out pretty quick. Except for those times when somebody says, I am so grateful that you called. I have to talk to you. And one side of you goes, uh-oh. But the other side says, well, maybe that's why I needed to make this call right now. Mark, thank you so much for all you do and all the teaching that you do. You're very generous in your teaching. I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about your signature offering, which is the Achievers Circle Weekend. Could you just tee that up, and then we'll call it a day?
Well, I've known one of the things that I'm known for is trying some often unusual things. And many years ago, in fact, it was 23 years ago now, in the year 2000, I was bothered, upset, turned off by all of these $10,000 expensive boot camps. And I began to play with a question: what would the anti-boot camp look like? I found that when everybody is going one way, see if you can reverse course and go the other way and create something completely unique or different. And so I sketched out what I refer to as the anti-boot camp. And I've done 165 weekend business development retreats, plus another 40 or so custom or personalized retreats for different teams. And so I'm just up and over 200 weekend retreats. But the interesting thing about the Achiever Circle is that it truly is retreat-like. It's not all day, every day, 3 days in a row. It's a well thought out schedule: 3 hours Friday, 4.5 hours Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday, and it's focused, it's intense, but it's a bit of a relaxed pace. And what makes it so unique is that there's no fee. Participants
Well, wait a minute, no fee? Explain that.
You know, when I was first sketching it out, I thought, what should I charge for this? And I couldn't come up with a number that was that I felt was the right number that would reflect the value. And I thought, tell you what, I'm going to waive the fee, and I'm going to ask people to come, to be open, to participate fully, to be engaged, to listen carefully, and look at 9 best practices for growing your sales and growing your revenues, and how to be more focused, and how to create a marketing plan and a messaging platform. And then at the end of the weekend retreat, you simply write a check or put an amount on a credit card for the value that you received and what you can realistically afford in this moment. And so I'm excited to share that we are about to do Achiever Circle number 166. But you used a term, and it is my signature work. In fact, I updated my bio today and said Mark's signature work. And so I don't know if this is my last tip today or not, if you've got another question, but the last tip that I would share, or make sure I want to share, is what's the answer to the $1 million question? And the $1 million question is, what is the one program, product, presentation, or service you specifically want to sell more of? And put the majority or the lion's share of your marketing muscle and might behind that one thing. And the more focused you are, the easier everything becomes. And for me, it's the Achiever Circle. What is it for you?
Mark, thank you so much for being our guest. And to all our audience, I just want to say, until we get together again, make it rain. Thanks, everybody.